When you hear there's no tax on overtime, you might think, time to put in as many extra hours as I can. But not so fast. What if I told you that regardless of how many hours you work, that benefit is capped at a much lower number than you might expect? First, let's be clear. This law refers only to the federal income tax. State taxes, Social Security, and other deductions still apply to your paycheck. To break down the actual numbers behind the headline, let's look at an example. Someone who earns $20 per hour and works 5 consistent hours of overtime every single week. Over 52 hours of work, this person earns $41,600 in standard pay and $7,800 in total overtime. The big question is, how much of that $7,800 is truly exempt from federal taxes? Here's the key number behind the law. The federal income tax break only applies up to $12,500 of overtime earnings. Any dollar earned above that $12,500 threshold is taxed like normal. So for an employee whose total overtime is $7,800, they are completely under that cap. This means their $7,800 in overtime, which would normally fall in the 12% federal tax bracket, is effectively exempt from federal income tax. By applying the numbers, we can calculate the real benefit. $7,800 multiplied by the 12% federal bracket equals 936. That's $936 federal tax savings for this worker over the year. That's just $18 extra in his pocket each week. Keep in mind, even if you were to work enough to earn, say, $20,000 in overtime, only $12,500 of that would get the tax break, and the remaining $7,500 would be taxed normally. After putting in consistent overtime all year, you get a monetary benefit, but perhaps not as much as we originally thought when we heard no tax on overtime. Of course, with different wages, different overtime hours, and different tax brackets, this final value will change. But now you know the core number, the $12,500 cap, and you know how to check exactly how much you might benefit from this law. Thanks for watching. For clear breakdowns of numbers in the news, subscribe to Numbers Behind the Headlines.